realizing that I was going to be going through a number of lesser-known escape room mechanic films, my wife suggested one movie, The Hole. I'd heard about it before, of course, but never actually saw it. However, while it is similar in nature, such as a group of individuals locked in a room together, it's not a mystery filled with riddles and puzzles for them to solve in order to escape. It's more of a character study on desperation, isolation, and ultimately uncontrollable addiction. So even though I'm not including it in my current review theme, I kind of still have to ask myself if it's any good. The Hole ultimately follows a group of friends that decide to hide in an underground bunker during one weekend in order to avoid a school field trip. They soon realize that once the weekend passes, they're actually inexplicably locked inside where they have a limited amount of food and water and other resources, no shower, just each other, and the madness begins to dawn on them. Character studies can also be just as enlightening and as entertaining as escape room mechanic films, especially if they're done right. A few movies do come to mind, such as The Divide, where people end up stuck in the basement of an apartment complex after some kind of war just broke out, and Basement, which I reviewed not too terribly long ago about a much smaller but similar psychological character study on neighbors that are stuck together and have to work through their own prejudices in order to survive. Of course, there's also more of a comedic route with Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser, which, looking back, I feel like I have to revisit that pretty soon. That being said, this is usually a trope found in post-apocalyptic or nuclear settings and not often found as something voluntary that just so happens to turn out to be kind of a mistake or an accident. So that's kind of new. For me, The Hole has a lot of great ideas, especially when it comes down to the human mind and what it goes through in uncertain times. There may be bouts of fear, anger, sadness, desperation, boredom, and the occasional maniacal laugh when you start to lose your mind a little bit, from the continual isolation that is. Malnutrition, dehydration, lack of hygiene, all of this is making everybody sick basically. These are the things that are universal and timeless, so there's definitely a solid reason to watch this film. Regardless of it being 23 years old, it doesn't always feel like it. Certain aspects of how the film was made, however, are definitely aged. This is a film that not only has nudity, but it's infamous for containing questionable ethics in terms of showing it under what I would imagine the director thought was art. In my opinion, it's not art, it just seems to be gratuitous for no real purpose. Now, under no circumstance am I a prude. Gratuitous nudity does not usually bother me, but I have to question certain things when we're talking about a minor. It's not a constant thing in the film by any means, but what nudity it does have does not further the plot or change anything by being there. It just seems to exist for shock value. So the fact that Keira Knightley was 15 years old when she shot hers leaves me wondering why it was so awfully important to have her do it when she was a minor. Or the shower scene with the guys earlier on. I'm still not entirely sure what that had to do with anything. So again, I'm not necessarily a prude, but I do have an expectation for things to make sense artistically or narratively, and I just didn't see either here. I'll also mention things like Desmond Harrington's hair. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that, but it was kind of all over the place. And that might just be a product of the time period this film came out in. At the end of the day, while the nudity thing is a negative that I think was wholly unnecessary, the story more than makes up for most of that, as it is quite good. So too are the performances and the breakdown of the plot, the character study aspect. It's timeless, it's realistic, and the mystery at the heart of the film, answering what in the heck happened in that mysterious bunker, is pretty darn good. I thought aspects of it were somewhat predictable because at this stage of my life, I've seen way too many movies featuring twists, so I'm always on high alert. But that's more of an observation thing than downright negative. I can easily say, however, I had fun with this movie, and I think the overall dark atmosphere and jive of the film works wonders, making it pretty easy for you to get sucked into the heart of what's happening. I'd actually say that this is mostly an underrated and hidden gem in some ways because of how well it mostly plays out and is mostly left out of various topics of conversation, especially when it comes down to films that follow this sort of trope. This is actually one of the better movies that follow this type of trope. I'm going to be giving this a B+ letter grade. I would probably have given it a slightly higher grade if it made better choices in terms of its scenes, you know? There's stuff in there, as I already pointed out, that felt pointless and just there to be weird or to shock you. But again, if those scenes did not exist in the movie, it would still play out exactly like it did, and people would still love it if they already did. That's my 2 cents, guys. Have you seen The Hole? Are you a fan of this movie? If so, let me know in the comment section down below. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. But until then, peace out.
Whispered secrets, Martins twisted.